Hey, hello everyone.
Hi
Hello, hello.
everyone.
Hi, welcome everyone to this ninth episode of The Journey. Today, as always, I'm with Amel. Hi,
Hi
Amel.
everyone.
And Chiro.
Hello.
And also, today we have a guest, Bronson. Hey, Bronson.
Hello.
Hey
Do you
Hello.
want
Bronson.
to
Hi,
tell us
everyone.
more about yourself?
For sure.
Yeah.
So I'm Bronson. I'm a senior content developer at Unity. Um, Before this, I worked at Square Enix making mobile games. And then before that, I co-founded a company called Co-op. And we made a bunch of games, been working in Unity for 10 years at this point. So yeah, I'm excited to contribute to the open project.
So,
We're
Bronson, when
excited
did
to
you join
have you.
Unity actually?
It was last August,
Okay, nice.
about
Nice.
7 months now.
Welcome.
Cool.
So, welcome everyone. If you are new and if you are joining us for the first time today, we're going to explain what this initiative is and what this live is. So, Chip, can you put us the video of the game?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. So, Unity Open Projects is actually an initiative that we took as advocates because we saw that we couldn't go to live events and see you guys, the users that are using Unity, and talk about Unity and Unity features. So we thought about this initiative to create a game with the community, with the whole community, either contribute with the development, the story, the game, the design, everything. And we will see that later on in the episode. So as you can see, this is actually the first game that we have, the first one in our initiative. And it's actually an action adventure where our protagonist, the big chef, seen here, yeah, is not very visible here, but
Right.
you can
I'll
see
put
it
it
in
back
the
on
other.
screen.
Yeah, he's here. So our protagonist, the big chef, actually lands on this beautiful island and explores this island that has actually a festival, a cooking festival. He meets other character that helps him to achieve the impossible and to wow the Fry King. The Fry King is actually the legendary king. He wants something. He wants a plate that will wow him, and the big chef will spend the whole time doing some quests and to finally find the final recipe. So yeah, this is our game.
That's the story in short. So actually, the Fry
exactly.
King, just to clarify, the Fry King, which we refer to him as the Fry King, which is the one that you see here on the right, is just a temporary name, and it's this legendary chef that the protagonist needs to wow with this recipe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you want to propose a name for the Fry King or for any other character, because we're still naming our characters and everything mainly, if you want to contribute, then you can do it simply by going. Chiro, can you share my screen?
Of course.
So I will show you where to go exactly to participate. First of all, we have this link. This is actually the public roadmap. It's on Codex, and as you can see, every deck here contains cards that has the tasks that needs to be achieved in order to participate to our game. So for example, if we open the deck for codes, we can see that the quest system needs to be achieved. It's in high priority. We have an explanation on the quests. We have a link for the forum, and if we click on it, we can see that some people, me, are working on this thread, this task, to complete the quest system. So this is the second link where you actually could go. It's the forums. If you go to our forums, you can see that we have multiple threads that you can participate to. You can give your opinion. You can comment on something, you can report something, and when it's official, it means that it's linked to one of the cards that we have in the roadmap. Now, once you are discussing the task that you want to achieve, or if, for example, you want to work on something, you can go to our GitHub and you can get the project from there. So you can download it, you can fork it, you can create a pull request. And as you can see, we have a lot of pull requests. 269 have been closed and 17 are still open. So you can participate with a feature by posting a pull request, and we will try to review it and then accept it or just like give feedbacks on that. Also, there are many pull requests that have multiple people involved in them. Like they start the pull request and people participate, either comment or give their advices or just like take this pull request and create another one. So yeah, if you want to participate in that, you can go to our GitHub.
And we're going to touch on a few of these contributions a bit later, right, Chema?
Yeah,
we
exactly.
talk about community contributions.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. We're going to talk about the community contributions later. And yeah, if you want to see more about this, we will show what we previously did in the previous episodes. And if you want to participate in something that's been done, or if you want to know how something is done or was done, you can see it in our other streams.
I have a question, actually, and it's not from me. In reality, it's from Amel. Amel, if you remember, you wanted to ask Bronson something. Do you remember what?
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. I have a lot of questions. Now you...
do you want me to remind you?
Yeah, please.
So Amel was asking how can I say, off screen, let's say, before we met Bronson.
No, I'm worried.
Because you joined the project recently, right? And you made one contribution, and that's the reason why you're here to talk about it. Amel wanted to ask you, how's the experience of joining the project so late? Like, we started how many months ago? 6 months ago?
Yeah, 5, 6, yeah.
Yeah.
Late September we started, so yeah.
So how does it feel, Bronson?
I guess, I mean, it took some time to get into the project for sure. There's a lot going on. And like with any project that's been going on for a while, like there are a lot of decisions that are made. So you have to kind of catch up on like how a lot of the things work in that particular project, because there's a lot of different ways to do things. But honestly, like everything was pretty straightforward. It wasn't too like, there was nothing off the beaten path or whatever. It wasn't too bad. It was pretty straightforward to get into it.
Any particular part that you found hard? Because it's really good to have you as a new user, so we can understand how new users see this project and maybe tweak something for them.
I think any particular part that I find hard.
You're basically a guinea pig.
It's hard to maybe put myself in the shoes of someone who would also be newer to Unity as well. So there's not that much that I'm seeing going on in the project that was hard for me to, I guess, wrap my head around. But there are some.
Is it a very humble way to say I'm a good programmer? I'm an amazing programmer. I'm a pro.
I think so. No, there are some interesting choices though. There's definitely, I've never seen a project use so many scriptable objects in so many different ways, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just, it's a choice.
We went bananas, yes.
It has pros and cons, yeah. It's super interesting to explore that though, right? And see like what comes out of doing it that way.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe, some decisions later on we'll regret them. But I think part of the fun is to do the journey together and for people to see how we changed our mind in time. That was actually one of my goals with this initiative. I was almost hoping that we will change our minds on something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super
masochistic.
common, right,
Yeah.
in game development
True.
for that type of thing to happen.
True. And I can tell you actually one thing that I wanna change. I don't know if you want a spoiler, if it's part of the plan. So let me just mention it like en passant. The way we load scenes right now, right? We have a location scenes, and then we have some manager scene that has to be on the side. So we wanted to give the ability in the game to play the game from any scene in the editor, and we always had this from the beginning. But the way we do this now is whenever you press play, you take the scene, you unload it, and you load the manager, and then you load the scene again to recreate like the flow that you would have when playing the game from the start. That's fine, but it's very annoying because now to test a scene, you always have to save it. Because if you don't save it, when it gets reloaded, you get the one from the disk. So you don't see like your latest changes. And that's something that I need to rework. I didn't have time before the stream, but there's a user that brought that up. He put an issue in the thing. I don't know if I can share my screen very quickly.
GitHub, yeah.
He put an issue here. Yeah, unsaved scene changes don't show in play mode. And at the beginning, there's always this feeling of rejection. It's like, no, it's fine. Now I need to rework all the code. So yeah, we'll deal with it. But he's right. And TJ Hoover. So we need to do something about it. So that's something that I want to change. And I changed it already once, and I need to change it again. So game development, I guess.
Yeah, and if you are new and joining us right now, we have also a wiki in the GitHub that you can visit and you can
Good
read.
point.
There's all the documentation there. You can see it there.
I'll just quickly show it. Is this one? Yeah, the wiki. I just added a new page these days, actually, Lighting and GI.
Yes.
On how we bake the scenes, how we bake the skybox, and there was building the game. So if you want to create a build of the game, that's how you do it. So yeah, we're expanding it all the time, and you'll find it on the repository.
Exactly. Do we want to see what we did until now? Because we did a lot of work in these past 5 months.
Yes. So as you know, every time we start a new episode, we play this video, which we called previously on the journey, and we show you basically what we've covered so far. So that if you want, you can go back in previous episodes and rewatch interesting topics for you. Chema, give me the 3, 2, 1.
2, 1, go.
So, what did we cover so far? In episode 1, I covered the creation of the toon shading, of the look of the game, right? So we were still defining it at this point. You can see it's very immature, but it's an interesting topic if you're curious about shader graph and custom nodes in shader graph.
In episode 2, we have also introduced the scriptable object events that we created to have a powerful system to avoid using singletons. So with the system, we have shown how we can raise events without and with parameters like the one that we used for the scene loading.
We also introduced the UI wireframing of our game just to see how it looks and how it feels and to know if there's things to change or to improve while testing it. You can find this board in the Miro board.
Then I introduced a community contribution, the state machine, a big community contribution that we're still using so far to this date, which powers all of our characters and their states, their behavior, I guess. Yeah. In episode 3.
In episode 3, we talked about the game design and the progress and how the game would be and the game flow. Also, this diagram is present on the Miro board, and you will see the final one today. So yeah, this is spoiler alert.
Yeah, and we have also introduced the dialogue and cutscene systems to manage how we request to start a cutscene or a dialogue by using the timeline that speaks with the systems to request the lines.
And we've shown a custom timeline track that we use to power dialogues directly from timeline. And then I also introduced the input system, as you can see, again, like a very rudimentary implementation, but it's still an interesting intro if you're looking to use this package. In episode 4, we had our first guest, Andy, In the episode, I introduced the audio system that we have, which is pretty complex, and it lets us play like sounds from any scene and so far. So yeah, those things. Andy created a couple of interesting tinting shaders, one for the characters that you can see in action here, and one for the environment, which we're using to create like random variations on trees and rocks.
In episode 5, we started by introducing the inventory system. This was a very big subject. And you used some word interaction, which Amel can present.
So we have also introduced the possibility to perform 3 interactions: the pickup, the cooking, and the talking.
And then I demoed something a bit unrelated, but it was interesting. It was how we use prefabs and variants in the project to construct basically our characters and variations on them.
It was also requested by the community.
That's true. There was a request by the community.
Yeah. In episode 6, what we covered, I don't remember.
Yeah, we have made major changes to the scenes when we separated managers that are required for both menus and locations to what we called persistent manager scene. And we have also used a specific scene for the gameplay. But as Ciro mentioned in the start of this episode, we are always changing things in the scenes, I guess.
Yeah. I also demoed a little bit animation rigging, which is this package to make basically animation more interesting and more physical, if you want.
In episode 7, we started presenting the quest system and how it would look like. There were so many diagrams in that and so many discussion. Then we continued with the localization package and how to use it to localize our dialogue and the dialogue of the quests.
Yeah, and then we have shown the first glance at the combat system, and we went through the different changes that we were intending to make, that we made eventually in episode 8.
And in the end of the episode, I touched on world building. So we started to see how we're gonna create and compose basically the world of the game and the different scenes, how we're gonna connect them together.
And
Exactly.
in episode 8, we extended again the combat system by separating different components so we can reuse them with different characters.
And then I touched on basically the loading strategy that we have on the game. So to use addressables to separate the scenes and the logic of the game and the data of the game in different asset bundles and load them only when we need them. So it's a very interesting episode if you're looking to understand more about addressables and packaging content. And finally, we revealed some music, which was
Yes.
yeah, you heard it from for the first time in last episode, and actually you're listening to it right now. So if you can hear some music under our voices, that's basically the soundtrack of the game. It's the locations tracks. But we're gonna show you the main theme later on during this episode.
Yeah.
So stay tuned if you're interested in that.
Yeah, stay tuned. Do we have any questions?
Yeah. Let's check the chat. Somebody asks, what kind of game is this? It's an action adventure. Very, very simple, I would say. With very little elements of platforming, but very, very not super like how can I say, tight platformer.
Yeah. And let's remind everyone that this is a vertical slice, so it's meant to be played like in 20 minutes or something.
Yeah. So we wanna give as Chema said, it's a vertical slice, right? So it's like kind of vertical peek at the gameplay of the game. We're not looking to make a full game, but we're looking to make a moment of a full game, which plays exactly like the full game would play.
Yeah.
I'm reading some compliments in the chat. Somebody's asking for the link of the episodes. We don't have them right now. I don't know if the Unity account can do that, but we have there's a playlist on the Unity account. So if you go to the Unity account and you go to playlists, you're gonna find one about open projects.
Yeah.
And you can also find the devlogs. Sorry, Amel. So you can
Yeah.
also find the devlogs about some of the subjects that we covered in our streams. The first one is for the shader. The second one is for the input system, I think, or the scriptable object, and the third one is the scriptable object. Am I missing?
Wait, you're
one
confusing me now.
episode?
No, the third one is input.
Okay.
Third one is input. And the next one, the upcoming one, is about addressables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bronson, are you
Everyone
bored
likes
yet?
addressables.
This is our marketing
Yeah,
talk.
I'm just thinking I should have watched all these before I jumped in on the project. It probably would have explained a lot.
It's a lot of stuff. That's why we do the previously, to recap people on what we've done so far.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. Okay.
I'm checking for other questions.
Okay.
No, that's it. Sorry.
No worries. I wanted actually to show where we are currently because someone asked about the type of games, and we said it's an action adventure, and we show it in the previously. We have a diagram that shows the game flow and another one that shows the quest, and now we have one that shows the game flow and the quests at the same time. So I don't know if people are excited to see where we at.
Sorry, Chema, before we move on, should I show the game being played a little bit?
Yeah, we can see the game being played.
Because I
really
think it's something we forget. Like we play the game all the time while we test it, and then we never do on stream. And then people are gonna be like, "What? Like, is this game even real?"
Yeah.
So I just wanted to show the game, that it actually exists.
Yes.
Gosh, I was stuck for a second, but yeah, here's the game. So you can see this is the beach scene. There's the barred hair down there. That's basically where the character will land, right? Like this is the first location that you will see in the game. As you can see, we have a nice water shader that was made by somebody in the community, actually. Here we have the barred hair, his faithful friend.
Ciro, are you already using a cheating code to move faster?
No. No, I'm not. This is the maximum moving speed, but I think I'm gonna make him faster even.
Yeah.
But it's cool if you move very slowly, which you can do with the stick.
Yeah.
He can like use the cane.
Oh yeah.
That's quite cool. But if he runs, he lifts
thing,
it from the ground.
Yeah. That's smart.
So yeah. So yeah, we have a few locations. We can, for example, go this side, and then we're up the hill. Let's say. You can see how now I'm looking at the beach from top. And this is basically a prototype of how to move between scenes, right? So you can also probably hear the music change. It's probably overlapping with the music from the stream, but you see how we can move seamlessly between scenes, and then we go this way. This takes a bit longer to load. There are a few characters here, and this is a scene where we can fight, right? And if you get attacked, if you get hit... Ah, no, you died. Yeah, we have a few, like, how do you call it? Placeholders, right?
Yeah, droppables. Some cool droppables. We will keep them for the final game, I think.
Yeah, I think in
Everyone
terms
is
of
excited
graphics,
about them.
that's approved.
And that's it. I just
Ciro's
wanted to show the
very
game because
excited about it.
very often we forget about it, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because we see it a lot. So
Yeah. And
forget
no
that- we
spoiler,
forget that-
but
sorry.
yeah, sorry, Sheba, go on.
We forget that other people did it. So yeah, continue.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, no spoil, but we are going to show even more of the game later with more context using the whiteboxing that is from the community contribution. Hi, it's Liviosa if you are watching or watching the recording. So
I don't think they ever watch the streams. I never seen them in the chat, sadly. One thing I wanted to mention. Somebody said in the chat, they say seamlessly because they saw some kind of hitch in the loading of the scenes. It's true, but you always need to consider that when you load scenes in the Unity editor, it's always slower than the actual build. So
True.
even now, if you play the game, you're gonna hear like a cut in the music, But if you play the game in the build, it's gonna be like super seamless. So yeah. Any episode about
Seamless,
streaming scenes? Oof, no, not on this game. But yeah, noted. Bronson will do it.
Bronson, yeah.
Can't wait. Yeah.
King of streaming. Okay.
Yeah. So, do you want to see what the game will look like, the story of the game?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just remind you, everyone, that this game will be actually based on quests. So that means that we will have multiple quests that will be played, where you will encounter a character, talk with them, fight some critters, cook some things, and have some recipes, etc. So these are actually the quests that we will have in our vertical slice. So that in the end, when we meet the last character, which is the Fry King, or whatever name we will choose for it, we can present to them the final recipe that we have. So we discussed this a lot, either with the team or with the community, and we have a lot of stories that's been created. And thank you very much for all the community that contributed to this. It's really impressive, the number of people that participated. And after discussing with the team, this is what we decided that this vertical slice would look like. It's ideas from the community that we just trimmed down so that we could have something playable in 20 minutes. So we can show it. Ciro, if you want to share the screen.
Yes, for sure.
Awesome. So as always, you can find this board on Miro. I don't know if the link is in the chat. It starts with a cinematic where the big chef is approaching the coast, and you see him like floating. And then there's a tutorial part where you start the tutorial, you start moving, then you move to where the barred hair is. The barred hair is the character that will help you during your quest. Then you start with the interaction with that, with this character. The barred hair asks you for help to get some critter seeds, and then the tutorial tells you where to go, or like it's explained in the dialogue. So the tutorial doesn't tell you like go here or here. It just tells you what is the control that you will move in your controller or your keyboard. After the interaction
Shema,
with
can
the
you
barred hair,
zoom a little bit? Sorry to interrupt.
oh yeah, okay, no worries. Like this?
Yeah, even more if you can.
Yes.
It's always good.
Okay.
I know
Okay,
it's big for you,
so-
but for whoever is
Yeah.
mobile.
So after the interaction with the character, we need the player to know how to fight. So we have the fight mechanics that we can have when we move to the critters, to have the critter seeds. So when we find the critters, we need to find them. Then we pick the droppable, which is the seed. And then we go back to the barred hair to get the prize, an old recipe or something. The recipe would be about some sweet creams or something. Sorry? Oh, I thought I heard something.
No,
Okay,
no.
so yeah. So once this fight mechanics done, we move to the cooking mechanics, and here the barred hair will explain to us how to cook, to use the seeds to cook the recipe that they gave us in the cauldron. So we have to find the cauldron, we have to cook it, and then we have the recipe, the dish, and the seeds. The thing is, here, while you are discussing with the barred hair, there's a cinematic that happens. So there's a dialogue between the barred hair and the pig chef, and at the same time, the phoenix chick, the sidekick of our barred hair, nibbles on the grains in the background. Then the phoenix chick sneezes on the pot, but because he's a phoenix, he sneezes fire. So the sweet cream that is in the pot turns to hard rock candy, and we get a rock candy and a rock candy recipe in our inventory. So this is the first thing, the first item that we have from the last recipe that we need to present to the fracking character. Now, once this is finished, because of the dialogue or anything, we move to the glade. And in the glade, we will meet 2 characters, and actually these quests can be done unorderly, so we can get the salty recipe before or the dough recipe before. It depends on what order we meet the character in. So when we start with the dough recipe, we meet a townsfolk. There's a cinematic of critter attack that happens. The townsfolk ask us to help fight the slime critters. And once it's done, we have a special utensil. Then we go back to the townsfolk, and the townsfolk gives us 1 recipe for the dough. After this, when we go to the second townsfolk, they will ask us for help to get a critter egg in the cave. We go to the cave, we fight some critters, we get 2 critter eggs, one that we will bring to the townsfolk and the other one that we will keep for us. And this actually will be helpful later on in the game. After this, we move to the town. We meet the bard hair again. They sing us a song, and there's a cinematic of enrolling in the competition. The bard hair will sing us a song here. After enrolling in the competition, we're still in the town, but it's a different quest line, just because the quest lines actually happen in an orderly manner, whereas the quests happen unorderly. So here in the town, we get a sweet recipe because we meet townsfolk that ask us for pepper that is in the forest, and we need to move to the forest to meet another character, which is the deserter, that will discuss sweet dishes. We show them the rock candy, and they talk about golden egg that creates sweet dough, and you ask about pepper. They give you the pepper, you move back to the town, you give the pepper to the townsfolk, and they offer you a spicy pizza. Thing is, here I think Ciro doesn't want it to be a pizza.
Yeah,
so
no, it
we
doesn't
need to
make
find
sense.
another.
It doesn't make
we
sense
need to
because
find
I think
another dish.
it breaks
Ciro,
the...
why don't you like pizza?
No, I think it just breaks the immersion in the game. Like, it doesn't make sense that there's a pizza in this game, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, so we need to find something else. Because it's easy to just... with this game, we saw it quite a lot. It's easy to... how do you say? Inject things that are taken from reality. We have a few accessories for the townsfolk as well, which are inspired by different cultures, and it's fun, right, on the surface. But then when you do it, it's like, okay, so there's a pizza, and this guy has like a Mexican hat, and then it's like it's a big melting pot. And I think a couple of instances are fun. If it's all like this, then it's like, okay, what is this game? Where is it? It doesn't make sense anymore. So we're trying to shy away from that. Sorry, Chema, I'll give you the screen back. But I don't think you want to read the whole story.
I mean, we're at the end. So actually here, there is, we can either move to the mountain to look for a golden egg to prepare our recipe, or just move directly to the townsfolk, and then we prepare a sweet dish, or we prepare a salty dish, or we don't prepare anything, and we present our dish to the Fry King. If it's the sweet one, then we win, but if it's the salty one, then we lose. And the thing here is that we end the game. So the game ends here. The thing is, here, what we want to do is we want all the characters to tell the player that if they prepare a salty dish, they would win, because the Fry King likes salty dishes, etc. There's a story behind it. But the thing is, if you prepare a sweet dish, you will wow him even better, just because you prepared something that is innovative, something that is bold, something that is new. And so this is like the story in few lines or few diagrams.
We had a discussion here, right, Chema? Because the community, I think, proposed to have basically two endings. So you can create these two dishes and propose them to this legendary chef, and basically you can win or lose the competition, right? So in my vision, initial vision at least, I thought, okay, if you give the wrong one, then you can still give the right one after, right, and try again. But I think what you wanted to do, which aligns a bit with what the community is proposing, is to just, you lose the game. So you give the wrong one, you lose the competition, and then kind of like the credits roll, and you have to start from scratch. So I'm curious to hear if the chat thinks, what do you think is the best idea?
Who's Team Chema?
So are you, just to repeat the question because it's a bit convoluted, do you think we should have another ending where you lose the game and you have to start from scratch? And again, you know, it's like 10 minutes game, 15 minutes gameplay? Or do you think we should just like have one ending, the good one? Let's see what they reply.
Yeah, let's see what
Bronson,
the
what do you think?
says.
Is my job on the line?
No.
I think having two endings seems fun. I think it adds a little flavor, you know?
Yeah, we thought...
the question is actually, if you end in a lose, do you like repeat from the start, or just like give the other thing and win?
Right. I guess like in that case, I don't know, because the way I see it, it's like I think you should repeat from the start, because are you really losing? Like, who's to say that that's a loss? It's like you gave it a try and you didn't win the competition, but you know, that's okay. It happens.
Initially I wasn't for it, but one thing you're right, like it's fine, right? You didn't die, you just lost the competition, and technically in the grand scheme of things, you're moving on in your adventure and you're moving on to another island or something. But yeah, it's actually maybe it's a good way to have people play again, right? And try different actions and explore the game a little bit, so it gives more value.
Yeah.
The chat seems to agree. Somebody says scratch, which I think it means from scratch. Somebody says I'm Team Chema.
Yeah.
I like the idea of having two endings. Okay, bye.
Yeah. Okay. Come back next year is like, you know, try again.
Chema is now the team lead. Bye.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so this is what the community decided on. We brought some changes just to make it less wide, because the scope was very wide, the story. So yeah, I hope that everyone is okay with the story and with the quests, because we're going to start to implement them and to implement the dialogue and the localization and everything that goes with it.
Chema, somebody just gave you a PhD in the chat, by the way.
Yeah.
I think we need to refer to Chema as Dr. Chema, since she earned her PhD from this.
Oh, Bronson is acting out, I think.
Oh no.
That's art.
Yeah, your camera.
This is like an immersive experience live for all of our watchers. So do you guys want us all to use the same filter, or let us know in the chat?
Welcome back, Bronson.
So, yeah, just as a reminder, I would say, for those who just joined us and just saw the show from Bronson. So in the episode 9, and it's the Unity Open Project, which is a collaborative initiative where us, Unity, and you, the community, come together to create a small open source game project. So today, Chema told us more about the progress so far in terms of quests, and which we are going to start implementing soon after a very, very long discussion. And you can see this in the threads, on the quest thread and on the forums. And I think it's time to take some questions. If you have any questions about this section or the game in general, we can talk about it. And later, I guess, we have updates from Bronson. And I see Ciro laughing.
I'm just reading the chat. Everybody's like excited about
Me too.
Bronson, good shader. He left. What did they say? He entered the matrix. He left the matrix, I guess. He is the matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should all install this.
Awesome.
What is Bronson's role? They say. Oof, that's a deep question. Bronson, what
like
is your
in
role?
life?
Do you mean do you mean in this project or in life or in the universe?
Hey.
It's like different levels.
He's the Matrix in the universe.
He's the matrix again.
Oh, I love this.
I don't know
Now
if I haven't found the answer to my role in the universe. Oh wow, it is happening again. Oh no,
Yeah.
what's happening?
Oh, no.
This time it's like a different tint. Are you using the shader from Andy? You know, the
Yeah,
tint
exactly.
shader.
So I have a suspicion, seeing as like I joined Unity after the pandemic started. We've all been working from home. I don't know that any of you people are real. And now that I'm seeing this filter going on, I don't know if I'm real anymore. Am I just an AI?
Oh my god, I love how deep the questions are today.
Yeah, I think Bronson is an issue on your end with the camera. So I don't know how to fix it.
What can I do?
I guess-
It's the
turn it
fact
off
that
and
it's-
on again, I guess.
Yeah.
It's the only thing we can try.
Yeah. So Bronson works with us in the advocacy team. And today he's going to show his
Save system.
contribution to our game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to spoil it here.
He's not a, sorry. He's not a new addition to Unity, as we said. Like he joined last summer, but he's a new addition to open projects. A guest, I guess.
Yeah.
But probably a recurring guest from now. He's gonna help us like finish off.
Oh.
He's back to normal.
It works.
Back to normal. Real life shader.
I think people are enjoying this internet quite a lot.
I am enjoying this. We should do it more often.
Yeah. We are the kings here and queens of improvisation, right? Like every episode, something happens. It's crazy,
Yeah.
but it's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody's asking, is there any consequence for losing the competition? Without some type of loss, the challenge has no meaning and eventually no point. That's a fair point, and that's why we're probably going to implement two outcomes, right? So if you give the wrong dish, which some characters will push you into making, then you lose. So you have to try again. Again, we're not trying to make some refined gameplay, because in terms of game design, you would say, okay, that's bad game design, right? Because it's kind of like trial and error. You don't know what's going to make you win and what's going to make you lose. It's fun. We're not trying to make like a commercial game. That's actually the one of the good points of this project, right? We're not we don't have any pressure of selling or making something that's innovative. We can focus on the implementation and the execution. Cool. Bronson, do you want the floor now that your camera is not acting up? Let's see. So you wanna introduce the thing, or tell me when you want to share the screen?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about the save system that I've implemented. We can just go right into the screen. I don't have a lot of preamble, really.
And if you wanna zoom on the code, this is something we always do.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's make that.
Give as much as much.
Great.
Perfect.
That looks perfect. Yeah.
Cool. So because you've all been using scriptable objects quite a bit, I decided to make the save system also into a scriptable object. And the nice thing about that is that you can drag it into any of the behaviors that need to use it, and then use it kind of like a singleton, but without, the regular instance static variables. So what I've done is I just threw in a nice little extra button here. And how I've set up the save system is once you enter into the main menu, if there is a save file present, then you'll have the option to continue or reset your save file. And if not, then it should start fresh and give you a brand new save file. And how that works is, like I said, we have this save system scriptable object, and inside here, there's this save class, which is really the save data, which is super important. So everything that we're going to save into a file is inside this file. And all this file is a container where we load it up with a bunch of data, and then we spit it out to JSON, or we load it from JSON.
So you're serializing things to JSON, right?
Yeah. So for now, I've decided we'll serialize to JSON. And the nice thing with this system too is if we ever, decide that we need to use something else, maybe binary, we can always just change how this serialization happens, and none of the other code actually has to change, which is very nice.
What is JSON, Bronson, since you're a programmer? Just in case somebody doesn't know on the chat or something.
For sure.
I don't know.
So what it is how do I describe it? It's just a data format, right? So It's just like a way of describing a bunch of data. Where it comes from is from JavaScript, and it's called, or JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I'm just gonna show you. It looks kind of like this. So in this case, we would have this, and then here it would be some ID, and then here we would have, I don't even want to do a second one. Basically, it's this. We put our data in between two squiggly brackets. Each piece of data has a name. In this case, I'm stealing the name from here. And then it has the actual data that goes along with it.
And that's it, right?
That's kind of it. It's very simple, very straightforward. And I guess it's normally, it doesn't have to be a dictionary, but it often is. So what that means, is we have a name attached to each piece of data instead of just a list of a bunch of pieces of data. Anyway.
It's good that I asked, actually, because I think one of the challenges that you had, but we were discussing it, was how to save a scene, right? A reference to a scene. What does it even mean? Because in Unity, usually you declare scene variable, and then you have a reference to it. But when you have to save it as text, as you're doing, what did you end up doing?
Yeah, so I'll say normally what I end up doing for that case is I do use scriptable objects, and I'll give an object some kind of ID, and then some kind of reference. So for example, it would be I give it an ID just as a normal inspector variable or whatever, and then a reference to a scene file or a scene name or just anything that I would use to load that data. But in this case, we wanted to try to hook it into the addressable system. And that was super interesting. I learned some stuff.
Because the addressable system, just to remind people, provides the kind of it maps objects to their, how's it called again? Oh God. The ID. Help me. You did.
Yeah, right. The GUID. Yeah.
GUID.
What
GUID. Yes.
I forget what that stands for. The unique ID.
We looked for it.
The G unique ID. I don't know.
Yeah.
Global? Is it global?
Global, maybe. Yeah.
Global, yes,
global?
Yes, it's global.
Yeah.
Global unique identifier, yes. So each file has one, right? And the addressable system, already in packing the assets, uses that GUID to create like a catalog of objects. And we wanted to hook up into this catalog to reuse those GUID instead of creating a new one, as Bronson was saying he's usually doing.
Yeah, so what we ended up doing for that, which I think is pretty cool, is we made a special type of scriptable object we get the GUID from the editor's asset database, which is the same one that the addressable system uses. And we just store that in a string, and then we just serialize that. So basically what this does, to break it down, is, for each of our items, we made them... Were you about to say something? No. For each of our items, we made them a type of serializable scriptable object. And then what it does is it automatically adds a GUID to each of them, basically. And to go just back to the onValidate real quick. So basically onValidate, I forget exactly every time it gets called, but every time there's like a domain reload, or maybe when you hit play, might be caused by the domain reload, things like that. So basically, whenever Unity's spinning its wheels, it's probably calling on validate on a bunch of stuff. So what this means is, like, if I create a new scriptable object, it's going to call on validate on it real quick, and then it's going to assign this right away, essentially. And then, yeah, that makes sure that we always have IDs on all of our scriptable objects. I can even, maybe, I'm going to do something risky here. I'm going to see if I can show one live. So right now, it's probably calling on validate. It was spinning its wheels.
Like doing risky things.
Yeah, it's our signature on this show.
Yeah.
I just wrote in the chat 100 points to whoever lists all the times on validate happens without Googling.
Nice, yes. So you can see here, each of the items, now we can see the GUID, and this is coming from Unity's asset database directly. So this is the exact same one that you can use in the addressable system. When you say, like, load asset, you pass it this, and it finds it, assuming that your addressables are set up.
Makes sense.
So yeah, and then we hide that so that nobody actually changes it, so that it's always correct.
Nice.
So basically, yeah, so that's the thing. When you want to save your data, you want to, like, save as little data as possible. And the way that I always do that is by using IDs and then attaching that within the game to some kind of data, right? So instead of like we could, for example, save all the information about each item, like all what's the information in the items? I wish I had an example off the top of my head. So, like, all this stuff, we could save the preview image, we could save the name, we could save, all that stuff, but we don't have to, because now we can just save just that ID. And in the case of the inventory items, we also save the amount that we have in our inventory. And then in our JSON file, like I said, it kind of just looks like this. It'll just be like this, and then and then it'll say amount. Oops.
And then at runtime, we retrieve the correct, like, information about it. I mean, it doesn't. Yeah, so you only save, like, the minimum quantity of data, let's say.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So you can, man, where do I find that again? In the save system, we have, that save data that holds that specific information, which is what's being stored. And then what we do is, I could actually open up the JSON file. Is it, where do I find it? I forget where it is. Hang on.
Dun, dun. I think
Here's another risky thing.
That's our favorite part. Oh.
Somebody's asking, while you look, why all of this, with all this system of scriptable objects, why is the inventory manager a mono behavior instead of a scriptable object? Chema is already replying.
Yeah, I replied
I don't
it's
know
actually the inventory manager manages the data and the UI, so it takes care of different things. We have a scriptable object for the inventory by itself, but we have an inventory manager that takes care of the events, the UI, and everything related to the
And
inventory.
passing the events around, right? To connect all these parts.
Yeah, exactly. So this is why we have an inventory manager that is a mono behavior.
Mm-hmm. Bronson, did you find the JSON?
I did.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So here it is. This is it. This is our save data. It just has the location ID is the last location that
you visited.
You loaded into, you visited, yeah. And then it has item stacks, and this it's got square brackets, which means it's like an array. So it's going to be an array, and each thing is going to have an ID and how much of it you have. And I just happen to know that this is the sitar, and you have one of them.
you live in the matrix, then you can read GUIDs.
So speaking of that, to hook up the location ID, what I did was I just hooked into the event that you use every time you request a location to be loaded. And when that happens, I grab the first location, which is safe for now because the first location is always the one you're loading into. I don't know if there were plans to eventually load like multiple locations at once or something.
No, we don't.
No,
No.
yeah.
Okay. So I load up that first location, and then I get its GUID from the scriptable object, and then I put that in the save data. And then because we have such a small amount of save data, it's actually really, really fast and cheap to just constantly be writing it to disk. So to be clear, like here, we're not actually writing it to disk. We're just putting it into this little save thing. But then here, I actually write it to a disk. So right now, every single time you load into a location, I'll write it to a disk. And I also, while we're on that topic, inventory manager, I think. Here, somewhere in here. Oh yeah, there we go. Every time you add or remove an item from the inventory, I also save it out to a disk. And that way it'll always
burn
be
that hard
current.
drive.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. We can change that one day. It's fine.
No, of course.
Yeah, I don't know if this part's that interesting, how to write it to a disk, but basically I just have this very tiny little file manager, and all it does is it takes a file name and a string that's going to be everything that goes in it. It creates a path out of it in the persistent data path, which is just a built-in Unity location where it's a good place to put your persistent data, and then just do file, write all text, and that's it. It's pretty straightforward. And then same for load. We do the opposite. So, okay, where are we? So now we can take a look at the start game, where so this is the script that's in this menu on I think it's actually on this start button. But basically, as soon as you start the game, it tries to load your save data right away. So we made the decision that for now you're going to have just one save file.
And I think that's gonna stay. We don't need to implement more than one, honestly.
Yeah, I think if somebody was interested, if they ever wanted to, it's just a matter of writing out to multiple files instead of one, and then having a way to read them all and pick them. So we have one save file. We try to load it right away. If there is a save file, then we switch the text to say continue instead of play. And we take away we add the reset save data button. So that would be, this text will say continue, and this will pop up. If there's no save data, then we hide this button, and the start button is just there. So this is all, it's temporary UI stuff. I didn't think this out very thoroughly. I just needed something to work.
Oh yeah, of course. This is a first implementation, right?
Exactly. When you hit the play button, if you don't have any save data, it's going to create a new save file right away that's just empty, just to avoid throwing errors later when it's trying to read from that save file and realizes there's nothing there, and then plays as normal. And then otherwise, we load the game. So to load the game, hang on. I remember how this works, I promise. To load the game, first so because the inventory is a scriptable object that has a bunch of data in it, especially if you're in the editor, the first thing you have to do when you're loading the game is clear out all of the items from the inventory. And then we go through our save data, and then we refill the inventory with stuff from the save data. So here you can actually see what we were saying about the addressables, where you give just that GUID into the load asset async of the addressable system. Do that for every item that you have, and as you get back your result as it works, you just add them to the inventory, and that's how we load up the player inventory.
That's cool.
And then once that's done, we just where is it? here. Yeah, and then we do the same thing with the location. So we take that location GUID, we get the location scriptable object that's attached to it, and then we raise the onPlay button, but with that location that was in the save file instead of the normal one, which I think is hard-coded maybe or something. I forget. Anyway.
Somebody was asking... oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
Are you done?
Maybe. I mean, are there questions?
Surprise me. No, seriously. If you're not done, I didn't want to interrupt.
I'm trying to remember if there's anything else that I should cover. I don't know. I want to hear if there's questions because I don't know if there's anything that was unclear.
It's a bit of a more generic question. They were asking, are you going to save instantiated objects in the scene to reinstantiate them when loading? And I think what they mean is like items dropped, kind of like power-ups that have been created in some way. And I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I think the answer, would be no. But we could, if someone is interested to hear how you would do that, I can like quickly explain.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I guess basically you would use the same idea, but you would want to have something in your save data here that probably has a list of whatever the objects that are instantiated in the scene are. So you could, break them down. Let's say like, oh, these are all the items that have dropped in the scene. These are all the enemies that are alive in the scene, things like that. And then we could just like add that as lists to the save data. And then when we serialize out to JSON, it'll work the exact same way, where it'll have an ID for all the items and then probably a location as well, where they're actually dropped would be important. That reminds me, I should show this class I made. So I made this special serialized item stack class. And this is just basically, this is all the information you need to know when you're loading an item or an item stack, actually. So if you're trying to say like have all your dropped items, you might have a special class that's like a serialized, dropped items stack. And that would have an item GUID, and then it would probably have a vector 3 or something that holds the position of that item. So you save that out into your save data. When you're loading, you go through all of those. You use the addressable system to find all the item prefabs that were instantiated, and then
instantiate them again.
Exactly, instantiate them again and use the location to put them in the right place. And same for enemies. Although I don't think there's scriptable objects that define the enemies right now, but you could create another one.
But again, to reiterate on the question, I don't think we're going to do that. I think what we're going to save in the save system is just like the progress, which in our game means a few things. The scene you're in, that's not actually progress, it's more for convenience. The quest that you're currently working through, and the items you have, right? Because the items actually advance you through the quest, so we don't want to lose them. And that actually opens a little bit of a question in terms of like game design and technology. Because, for example, imagine you defeat an enemy and they drop an item, right? And then you leave the game at that point. Like, where does the item go? Does the enemy come back? So we need to think about this. Or the opposite could also happen. You defeat the enemy, you grab the item, so the item is now in your save, and you leave the game, right? If you go back to that moment, do you get the item again? So we need to think about this, and that's Chema, it's your problem.
Yeah. I was thinking about it when Bronson was talking. I was also thinking about the fact that we need also to have what are the quests that's been done and what is the quest line we're in. So yeah, it's a big discussion that you will have, me and Bronson, later on, I think.
Chema, somebody says that they're a big fan of your work in the Miro board.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm very happy.
Other questions on the save system? Bronson, somebody was asking, what is the code lens thing? What is the code lens type thing on your code? And how can I get that in my life?
The grayed out stuff.
Let me just... I guess.
This kind of like, this is Serial Baba. This
Yeah.
is I made this.
That's Visual
It's still-
Studio. No, that's Rider.
Yeah.
Rider.
So Bronson is a real programmer. He doesn't even use Visual Studio. He uses Rider.
I don't know if it's a good idea to just start promoting Rider on the stream, but I think it's really good for working with because it has a lot of cool information like, oh, this thing is serialized in these 6 assets, for example. And then you can go find the assets that a thing was serialized in. And that's really great.
How do you spell Rider?
That's awesome.
R-Y, right?
No, just like RIDER.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not free though. That's the downside.
Yeah, I know. The other question that somebody was asking is why the serialized item stack is a class and not a struct. Just laziness.
Honest answer is I didn't feel like thinking about it, and I figured I would worry about it later.
Yeah,
Because
fine.
that's a good question. Should it be a struct? Should it be a class? There are pros and cons, and I haven't thought about it yet. But the nice thing is we can always change it at any point. It's very easy.
Fair enough.
so-
Or the person who asked can change it.
There you go.
Make a PR. To be fair, please don't make a PR just for this.
Yeah.
Actually, because we have many PRs to handle, and this is really, really a minor improvement.
Yeah.
Every improvement is good, but we're trying to prioritize things because we want to like head towards the end of this journey. Just to quote the name of the show.
That wasn't expected. I was like hearing something.
I thought of something actually, something I should mention.
That's actually
originally-
funny. Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Go.
Well, I was gonna say originally we had talked about saving every time you quit the game, and I was gonna do that. But there's always like, it always worries me a little bit because in theory, like a game could be quit without you going through the proper quitting procedure, right? And then like the save might get destroyed and stuff. So that's why I actually decided, because we have so little data, to just save every single time you add an item, remove an item. Basically, every time the save data itself changes, and you kind of avoid that problem in that way. But you do bring up other.
We could. I think there's actually a way to capture application.quit, or when you do even Alt F4 or Command Q on Mac. I think there is a way to capture that. So we could try and you can
I'd
literally
wonder
like.
though,
Sorry.
if you force quit like end task, does it still?
No, but I mean,
Yeah. Okay.
it's a bit like your problem.
Yeah.
You know how in
Fair enough.
you know how in console games they have those like loading indicators. I should put it on the other side of the screen, in the corner, right? And one of the guidelines when you start the game, you have to show this thing that says, "Don't turn your console off when the loading indicator is off," because that's the moment when the file is being read or written to disk. Man, if you do that, like,
Yeah, that's fair.
that's
That reminds me of another thing that I should mention. Sorry. Is I did do a save backup file though. So I actually have 2 save files. There's a save.chop and there's a save.chop.backup. So actually, when I write the save file, what I do is I take the existing file and move it to the backup file, and then I write to the new file. So if something terrible does happen, you do have a backup. That's all.
Nice.
nice. I was actually wondering if you had implemented it, because I remember you mentioned, but yeah, cool. All right, nice. Thanks, Bronson, for the contribution and for the demo. It's really appreciated. It's one of those things that only a pro-programmer.
Pro-programmer.
No, but in all
Pro-square
seriousness, Bronson actually made a talk and wrote a blog post about this, right? So if you go to our fantastic YouTube channel where you're watching this stream right now, you will find a talk called Persistent Data, How to Save Your Game States and Settings Unite Now. So that's a talk by Bronson done in November, which goes together with a blog post that he wrote, which is called basically the same way. And you know, in the blog post you'll find everything in written form, but together you will get a clear picture of more or less. It's the technique that you shown today, right, Bronson?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's cool. That's why I hired him. I saw that blog post and I was like, I want this man.
I'd like to mention, just so people know, if you do have like lots and lots and lots of data, there is always kind of a risk when you're working with JSON that you might like run out of memory because of the way that strings expand in your memory and stuff, and your app could crash. And at that point, you might want to switch to something more like binary focused. But I haven't written about that stuff yet, unfortunately.
Makes sense, yeah. As we know, as we're finding over and over again with this project, there's no one solution that works for every, right? There's no golden bullet that works for every situation. Cool. Thanks, Bronson. And by the way, Carol, our Unity persona, has put the links to the blog post and to the video in the chat.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, cool. If we don't have any more questions on the save system, we can move on.
Yes.
What do we have on the plan, girls, right now?
So if we don't have questions, maybe we can move to community contributions. I mean, feel free to ask the questions even when we are talking, and then we can go back to them, even about the save system. So
yeah.
I think we have some cool contributions. As usual, we can't really show everything. Sometimes it's like improvements and updates, but we will try to show some of them. And I think we will start with you, Ciro, right? With the white boxing.
Yeah, but I was thinking before we do that, do we want to show the music for the main theme?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Because we have, sorry?
The big reveal.
The big reveal, yeah. Well, we have revealed some music in the last episode, and to be fair, the songs are actually all in the project right now. So if you wanna go and check them out, you can just by going to the repository. But we wanted to just show you, like the main theme for the game here on the stream. And to do that, I'm gonna use the Bard Hair video, where he like plays the guitar or the sitar, I guess. But that's not the scene, right? That's just a how do you say, like a
prop.
Yeah, placeholder. I wanted to say like placeholder graphics that we have right now. So without further ado, I'll play the theme, which is, let me see how much it lasts, how long it lasts. Put it here. 4 minutes, but maybe we're gonna cut it.
Okay,
shorter.
see you in 4 minutes. Bye.
Yeah, so we're gonna mute the microphones, and you're gonna hear the main theme. And 3, 2, 1. So do you like the theme? You like the main theme?
I do.
Yeah, it's pretty
I
cool.
do too, yeah.
It's
I was
pretty
watching it on my. Okay, I'm gonna mute the YouTube.
Yeah, because for the chat, Chema, Amel, and Bronson don't hear it as you do, so they have to
Yeah.
rewatch it through YouTube, which is funny. But yeah, it's pretty nice. So actually, with all the songs, we have them in the game, of course, but we also provide, because we contracted like a contractor to do them, which is called Marta Ascari. But she provided us with, I'm going to show you, with this. Basically, we have the complete versions, which are the ones that go into the game. So there's one that loops and one that has like an ending. We obviously use the one that loops, but also she provides the MIDI files for the songs. She provides the stems. So this means that basically each one of these tracks is a stem, right? So it's part of the song. And if you want to hear one of them, let me see. For example, this is the main theme, right? Let's check this one, Far Away. I don't know if it's gonna play. Yeah, so as you can see, so as you can see, you have at your disposal, if you want to do remixes of these songs, you can make them using the stems. And finally, she also provides the PDF. So literally like the, how do you call this? The, in Italian is spartito. How do you say it? Bronson, help me. The sheet, the music sheet.
Sheet music?
The music
Sheet
sheet,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Spartito, it's in Italian.
Yeah. Spartito.
So yeah, of the whole song and of every song. So if you're a music person, if you're an expert, or if you're not an expert, you can use the MIDI directly into your programs. You can do remixes of the songs, which I think is pretty cool. So you can have fun with the work that Marta did, and potentially we can put something else in the game, like a combat theme or something like that. I also want to quickly play also the pause menu music, just to show people the comparison, because this was like the epic version of the main theme, right? But then we have a pause menu song which goes like this. And I'm not gonna play it for long, I just wanted to give you a hint. So if you want, you can check these songs in the game. Basically, you can just check them out by downloading the game from the repository, and you'll find them in the assets. And we're gonna share the stems and the PDFs, so the music sheet and the MIDI, through Google Drive probably, so we don't put them in the project. And we're gonna share them on the forums. So keep an eye on the forums if you're interested. Cool. That's all for the music. Do you like the music, chat? I'm asking the chat. Partitura in español, yeah. Actually, it's partitura in Italian as well. What did I say? Spartito. It's the same, yeah. How is it in French?
Partition.
Partition. Okay. Cool. All right. Done with the music. Now it's time for contributions.
Oh, nice. We will see what people are up to this week.
Yep. Do you want me to start,
Awesome.
Amel?
Yeah, I guess, because I'm really excited to see the updates on whiteboxing.
There's actually so much stuff. I added more things before before we started the stream. So I have a few things to show. So let me do this. So, as usual, we have many contributions. The contributions come in different forms. We have contributions in code, which come through PRs. We have contributions in graphics, and this is one of them. For example, one of the users called Oxterlibre, or Oxterlibre, is making some pretty nice layouts for the UI. they started with the logo. The logo that you see here is from another user, actually, which is on another page. It was Zgeb who made this logo, and we probably will use this logo as the logo for the game. Not with these colors, but like the shape. And then Auxter Libre is starting to make some... yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. It's starting to make some layouts. So this would be like the main title screen, and this is obviously temporary graphics, but they're working with what they have, right? Then we have one for the settings, localization, key remapping, and so forth. So they're making a few tests, and then we have Arun Chahar, who's making tests for like icons, for the inventory. So we have a lot of work going on here in the UI thread on the forums, and we're looking to like put these graphics into the game soon, as soon as like Auxter Libre is done with the tests and provides like PSDs or something. Mm-hmm. In a thread called concept art, and as you can see here, the interface you don't see it because there's a label, but like the interface is still giving me notifications of new threads. In the concept art thread, we have again Arun Chahar creating like concepts for different things. There's one that's he's making like scenarios, and he made a couple for like bridges and piers, and on the basis of that, some other users, specifically Harsh99 and Mortijin, they're making piers and little bridges to make the town more rich. So these haven't been done yet, but we're looking to, well, once they've made them, we will integrate them into the project. He also provided some more images, so you can see the work in progress. Still early, but yeah, they delivered some cool assets that Amel is gonna show, right, Amel?
Yeah, we're gonna show this in editor.
Yeah. Another thing that I wanted to highlight is this collaboration between a long-term user, Zmurio, and Tijmen, I think that's the pronunciation, van der Heuvel. They're making a shader for the boat, for the sail of the boat. Basically, the sail of the boat was static, so we wanted it to move with the wind. So they're making a new shader to make it move with the wind. And actually, if I press play on this video, you will see some work in progress. This has its challenges, right? Like, so for instance, first thing they had to do was to subdivide the mesh a little bit better. So you can see that the PR starts with Zmurio subdividing the mesh to accommodate the shader in a better way. Other challenges is you see this bar in the middle of the sail creates some compenetration, which they're working on. And then the idea is like, how much does it bulge? How much does it move? So they're working on a shader together. And the cool thing is that they're working on this PR together. So Zmurio opened it, but you can see that there's contributions by Tijmen in the PR. And just so you know, you can do this. You can collaborate on a PR. It's actually very easy. The way you do it is, for example, Zmurio is working on a branch called main Zmurio 2 on her fork of the project. The only thing that Tijmen has to do is to open a PR on that branch. And if it opens a PR on that branch and Zmurio approves it, then it becomes part of this PR. So you can totally contribute, you can totally collaborate on PRs with people. Just, talk to them, like go to the forums and chat and organize the work. So that's cool. And I created a conflict here that I need to resolve. Nice. And then the other thing I was looking at was this contribution by VJS22334, who's making, do they have a real name? No. Who's making a system to basically have the camera change angles sometimes. I have a video for this. I want to show you. No, I don't have a video for this. I had a video somewhere. But basically, the idea is to have the ability to have camera. Yes, it's here. Sorry. So that normally you have this camera, which is like an orbit camera. And then when you go into specific points of the game, like for example, through this trunk, the camera goes on a rails, right? And so it switches to this different VCAM. Now, the issue with this thing is that we need to be very careful of the positioning of the camera. So for instance, in this case, if I rotate the camera in a certain position and then I enter the trunk from the other side, to reach the position, the camera is going to go through the trunk, right? And I don't like that. So we need to find a way to make this system a bit more like foolproof, let's say, and accommodate all of the camera switches. Now you're going to see the camera clip again. If the camera is above the trunk and I go in from the top part, then the camera goes through the trunk, right? And we wanna try and fix this. So we'll find a way. And that's why this PR hasn't been merged yet. I'm discussing with VJS22334 about what to do. And he or she replied just like 5 hours ago. So we're working on it.
People in the chat say this is his real name or their real name.
It's true. My real name is actually CC421. No, it's not. The other thing I wanted to show was this cool thing. Maybe I don't want to play in the editor, but that's what Amel was mentioning, right? So we have this user called It's Leviosa on the forums, and they made some pretty cool white boxing. And this white boxing is actually only the town of the game. I'm gonna make it full screen, but you can see how intricate it is, and I think it's really cool. Like they really thought about it, right? So there's an initial section where you go through here, then you go through this archway, and you're basically in the main section of the town, the main square, let's say. Mm-hmm. They even made a little well for the water. There's some stands. Then there's a secondary area. This like show stand. I don't know how to call it. Yeah, stands again.
Yeah.
And there's this thing that they call the fish market. And then there's some verticality, right? So you can see how this thing develops into like different areas here. There's another passage here. And then the verticality, when you go up, you can see different houses on this elevated walkway. And actually there's the legendary chef up here. So they really imagined a very cool town, I think. And I'm gonna play this video, which is gonna show you kind of like a walkthrough through town. One of the things that Leviosa did very well is that they divided the town into parts, because at this point you're gonna imagine that this is not one big environment, but it's gonna be broken down into scenes. So for instance, here I'm going up the hill, I'm checking out these stands, which are currently empty. Then I'm going up to this other stands area. And if you go behind kind of like where the river is, which obviously is all placeholder, this would be a different scene, right? So at this point, the Unity will switch to another scene. This side here, we will have the forest, which is not there right now. But if you were to go there, it will switch to yet another scene, right? So now I'm going back to the town. And then if you go up here, and then, so what I think they did very well is that now we can start thinking about how to subdivide these scenes. And we need to be, we need to create basically some visual elements to block the view and to solve how are we gonna, because for example, when you look at the scene from the top up here, how are you gonna manage like, you know, all the objects? So we won't have all the objects down there. So we need to figure out a way to make the town look good, even though we're not loading everything at once. Bronson, what do you think? Since you're a programmer.
Boy, I've never worked on a big like open world thing.
It's not open world.
Well, I guess what I mean is, yeah, it's something that has that problem. Let's say.
Yeah, but that's the point, right? We don't want to make it an open world, so we want to section it into scenes, and then the question is like, how do you make it feel organic, that you're not when you look outside the scene, you don't see emptiness, right? You want to see 3D geometry. And in fact, in this part here, oops, the video restarted, but I can send it to the right part, right? When we look down, how do we make it so that there's still geometry, but we don't have like dozens of characters, thousands of objects, right? And we don't have light maps loaded for those characters and sorry, for those objects. So that's
I
something
can
we
see
still need
that
to figure
step
out.
one is probably LODs, right?
Yeah, but LODs, which for whoever doesn't know, it stands for level of detail, means that we would need to make
Different level of details.
Yeah.
for every
For-
single object we have.
Yeah.
And we don't have that pipeline. Like many contributions, we've accepted them and they don't have LODs, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the nature of this project. We do what we can, what we have.
It's so beautiful. It gives me some vibes of our Grimmer. I don't know if there are people that play World of Warcraft, but yeah.
Shema, that's a
looks
copyrighted
like
name. You can't. Look at this shot. This shot is pretty cool. When he walks, I actually did like a little bit of camera movement, but when he walks on that bridge, but that's exactly the shot that's worrying me, right? Like now you're like looking down and you see all the city, and this shot.
But that's the cool part, I guess, to have this view, like global view of all the rest.
Yeah, but is it gonna run? That's my worry.
That's the challenge.
Once we put all of the objects that we want to put in there, like all the grass, all the fruit and vegetables and food in the stands, all the characters. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. Problems of tomorrow are for tomorrow.
Sounds like a fun problem to solve.
I wish it was this simple, but
Okay.
that's cool. What does the chat think of this white boxing?
Someone is asking, why would these all be separate scenes rather than one big one? And performance reasons, would they be additive scenes loaded at the same time, or just wondering? So I think we gave a response to this in the previous episodes, but if someone wants to answer it.
Shema, you answer. You have.
So yeah, we have them separate because of the performance. We have, I don't know where we are at right now, and I think it's still in discussion, but we have different scenes for the different placement that we have. So for example, we have the beach, we have the glade, we have the forest, and the town here that we are seeing here. And yeah, it's for performance reasons. There are additive scenes, but they're not like, currently they're not different locations. They are additive scenes. So for example, we have the scene for gameplay that contains the UI and all the managers. And we have persistent objects, I think. I'm not sure about the naming.
Persistent
So,
managers.
Yeah, persisting managers. So we have different scenes that are loaded additively to allow us to just change the location without having to change change all the scenes. So we keep like the sound, we keep the UI, we keep everything, but we only change the location. So yeah. I hope I answered well.
Just to of course. Just to remind people, since you touched on it, basically the situation is something like this, right? Like, as Chema said, like I've shown it in the previous episode, or 2 episodes ago actually. So we have scenes like this. For example, this is the beach scene, right? Actually, this one is where you're basically playing on this part of the beach. But because we need some backdrop, we also load some rocks from up here, right? So when you're down on the beach, when you're at the beach level, you see those rocks and they look 3D, of course, because they are. And you don't really notice like any other detail, right? So you just see those rocks in the distance. And then if you were to look from like a very side position, you will see the rest of the island. But the rest of the island is now in the skybox, right? So it's far away. And that's the town, right? The scene that's up here is the glade. We call it the glade, and it has a few trees, but it has no other decoration. And that's because you only see it from down there. But when you go up there, so you go into the scene called the glade, now you see a different scenario. So now here it's full of like little flowers and grass. And this is not like the final one, but you can see how much more detail there is, because now you're playing here. And then in turn, the beach, which is now further and down, has some details, has some trees, but it doesn't have small details, right? So for example, you can notice from here that in this version, the barred hair is not on the beach. The character is not there anymore. But ideally you won't notice, right? Because you're focused on this scene and you're playing here and you're just focused on this big rock and whatever. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have like scenes constructed like this, where you have like a main, you see here on the hierarchy, I think it's marked, where it says environment. This is the glade, right? So that's the playable environment for the glade. And for this scene, the beach is background. But if I go to the glade, even though they look very similar from here, the background is the beach. Oh, sorry, that's the same. There we go. If I go to the beach, the background is the glade, and the playable area is the beach, right? Destroying everything by unveiling objects that I shouldn't unveil. But you get the point. So we're not loading scenes in and out. We're always using one scene, but the scene contains, how can I say, gameplay area and background area. And as I shown last time, the bake reflects that, right? So in the beach, in this case, the bake is like very detailed, but the background has a very low detailed bake. And if I go to the glade, it's the opposite, right? So the beach is baked very roughly, and the glade, which is the actual gameplay scene, is baked more detailed. Want to spend more time on this, but I think it's useful to remind people. And so for this reason, the town, which is right now, it looks like this. Okay, this is the bake. Looks like this. Needs to be cut down into scenes and into prefabs. And we need to cut down. And that's why I like that It's Leviosa made these areas, because this simplifies the work of like saying, okay, this area here, we're going to make it into a scene. This area here, we're going to make it into a scene. So it feels organic, but it's actually still separated. And the only problem is the top ones, because the top ones have a view on what happens below. So that's going to be challenging.
Can we put like the sea and that's it? Like it's a cliff or something?
The sea?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
The beach? I mean, the blue there, we can just replace it with the sea shader or something, like the beach.
Oh, no, that's
The
fine.
water.
I was more thinking about the, for example, if I'm here on this kind of like balcony and I'm looking down there, I would have to see like characters moving and, all the objects.
Okay. Yeah.
And
yeah,
we
I
can't
see.
have that, because that would mean that this scene is now loading, like 10,000 objects.
Yeah.
And maybe it runs on my computer, but we're trying to make a game that runs, on different machines. So that's something we need to address.
Exactly. And there is actually quite nice, I would say, ideas in the chat that we can maybe dig into them later.
Okay.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
we as I always say, we always read the chat, right? Like even if we don't read it live, we always go back to the recording and we check the chat and what people were saying when we were demoing.
Yeah.
Using a kind of fog
exactly.
effect. It's too close. It will feel like the game Turok. Do you know the game Turok? Yeah.
Don't know what I think.
Mel, you're too young. It was from 2000.
So good.
It's an old game. This doesn't mean that I'm old. It's just...
It just means that I'm too young.
Yeah, exactly. I realized my mistake. But yeah, it was a game that was using fog in a very aggressive way. It was early, like Nintendo 64. And basically the fog was like 20 meters away, right? Like, what the hell? And it was funny, but it worked, because in that game, it was like a... how to call it? Like a it was with dinosaurs, and you were in this weird environment, so it's
like
fine.
very
You know, there's a lot
jungle.
of fog. Who knows?
Yeah.
But for our game, it would be a bit too much. Cool. I'll stop talking
Yep.
now.
Yeah, I will maybe carry on talking on the community contributions, because thanks, Ciro, for showing us all these amazing updates from the forum and from as well all those discussions and videos. So I will show more things in the GitHub site. So if I share my screen, I'm gonna just quickly show them, but we will show them in editor as well. So we have the slash effect that was added from Trevis. We have also an editor window to efficiently find scriptable objects from Harsh, Narayan, Ja. And then we have more accessories that Ciro mentioned from Mortigine. Another PR that was merged was the first step on the path component, and I'm going to touch on this on the editor on the improvement PR that has been as well opened from Alexander Garibia. So if I show the editor, and maybe let's start by pressing play so we can see the full slash effect. So for the slash effect, I think, Ciro, you have made some adjustments to make it less transparent.
Yeah, I make it more cartoon in some way, but the effect is also there in the projects. But yeah, you look a bit more opaque.
So now we can see this cool slash effect.
Nice.
So yeah, thanks to Revis for contributing on this. This.
I can
So
see.
if I
I can see that that's the error that was coming, Bronson, from the save system. But Bronson already fixed it. So
yeah, I need to probably put some updates. So I just wanted to quickly show something that was changed a little bit in terms of characters. So if we go to the character, I'm gonna just drag and drop the peak chef so we can see the prefab. I'm 2D view. You can see that now we have the player effect controller. So Trevis, through the PR, eventually he made this change of putting all the effects together in one behavior, so that way we can control them all from the same location, and that's also a good addition. We have mentioned the tool, so I'm gonna go to Tools, SO Quick Access Tool, and if I'm gonna put it here, yep. So you can see that here we can have different types of scriptable objects that we have in the project. You know that the project is getting more and more bigger, and we want to have access to easily, access those SO instances that we created. So let's say location SO. You can see that we can quickly locate the different locations that we have. And of course, you can do this with different items. You can locate the salad, the apple, banana, and so on. So this is really cool. Thanks, Harsh, for this contribution. I know we took some time.
Pretty cool addition.
We took some time.
I saw the PR, but I didn't see it in action. It's a cool.
Yeah, it's really useful, and especially now that you see that we have all these different types, you're like, okay, what do I need? Location. Let me quickly get this one. So
and I think you can type as well, right? If you
try to look for the dialogue, and you'll see.
So here we can do dialogue data. Yep, and now we can see all the different dialogue data SOs, different instances that we have created. So this is an awesome PR. Another one is the pathway. So the pathway was on the prefabs gameplay. You can find this folder where we have this pathway that you can drag and drop in your scene. So this is the latest PR with the improvements. I didn't merge it publicly yet, but it's merged locally. So let me go somewhere here in the map. And let's say we want to create a nav mesh path. So we are going to start by making those different. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit too high in the map. You can adjust the probe. And this one is, if you do nav mesh path, let me actually generate the nav mesh. That's why we don't see it. So if I do bake, so you will not see the probes anymore. And you should see the path. Okay, it's not 100% working because we are not on the floor. Yeah.
Because we are in the live stream, it's normal.
Yeah.
It's always like this.
So this is actually the cool thing that is made through this update. If your point doesn't belong to a walkable area, this will not be like you would see the probe that we have seen. So let me just clear again the nav mesh. If I go back here, and if I do, you can see that we have these red things. That's like indicating that we are not using a bake, or we don't have nav mesh baked, or we are in an area that is not walkable. So if I do bake, and now if I try to see the nav mesh path, you can see that we have the path visualized here. Another cool thing is if I try to get closer to a tree, you can see that we have this real time enabled. So it will try to like force you to go to the closest point that is on a walkable area. If actually I disable this, you can see that I can put it on the tree. But then if I do nav mesh, that's smart enough to, you know, go beyond the location where we have the tree. And this is cool because let's say if we don't have this in place, we might choose a waypoint, and the character will be trying to go to that waypoint, even though we don't really have it like physically accessible to the character. So that's also another update. We are still like looking and reviewing this PR, but I just wanted to share already the updates. And let's move to the scene where we have the art showcase. So if I go to the art showcase, we can go to the townsfolk band. I call them band because we have new instruments. It's really cool. So we can see the different characters with these cute, amazing instruments. We have a lute.
Bronson, did you see this?
So actually, you can see the different mixture of, like, I would say, you know, as the styles, the English hat with the, you know, different instruments. So it was just a way to put all together the contributions from the user that submitted.
The
I'm
Beatles.
going to go back to the Beatles, yeah, from Mortigi. But of course, we will not probably like use all in the same context like this way. So we're going to try to make things more harmonious and, you know, but I just wanted to showcase already what we have so far from this PR. And I think it's cool. So yeah, this is the band of the Unity Open Project music band.
We should make some dueling bands, each in their own style.
Yeah.
So we have the bard here, right? Who's a musician himself. So
exactly. So yeah, if we go back to the PRs that are, as I said, this was the one that we showed, the improvement for the path component. And once this one will be merged, we can see that Travis is using actually this tool into his PR for the movement strategy. And this is really cool because you see a different conversation with Alexander and, you know, the back and forth. And that's really awesome. That's the kind of things I guess people come for in the project, is to learn from each other's and like discuss all the solutions. Same for the combat system. Like we are trying now to more or less finalize it. What is still missing, I would say, in terms of combat system, there is a change that we want to do in terms of how we consume the input in the state machine. So the fact that now, as long as you are pressing F, and if maybe I go to any scene.
should we use the scene tool?
Yeah, so if I press F, you can see like as long as I'm pressing, we keep, you know, hitting, or the player keeps fighting. So what we want to do is you only press once basically and you see it once. You need to press again to be able to see the action again. And so yeah, this is what we are still discussing. I mean, this is what we will do, but still like informing the community, of course, about these updates. And yeah, so let us know what you think, if you have any, I would say, feedback in terms of the PRs.
Enjoying the project, right? Like we have so many contributions, but we can always have more. As I think Chema mentioned in the very beginning, we have merged.
Yeah.
We have merged. We have solved, I would say, not really merged, 269 PRs, which is an insane amount of PRs. We have around 75 people who contributed to this project with code, and some more with art. So it's really cool. We're heading towards the end, but we're not there yet. So there's plenty of time to join and to understand the project, you know. And if you're good like Bronson, then you can make some cool contribution.
Thanks.
No, I'm joking. I mean, what I wanted to say is that it's a demonstration that you can actually get into the project fast enough. It doesn't need like weeks of studying or something. Like, when did you open the project first, Bronson, and then like days after you were making the save system, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think
That's
it probably
nice.
took me like maybe like one day of just like going over it to actually write something.
Mm-hmm. That's
Awesome.
cool.
And actually, if you want some inspiration to know what you want to work on, we are going to show you the status of the game currently, the status of the systems, and where we are at, what we need, and create new tasks to add to Codex. So stay tuned.
You want to do it now, Chema? I think we're there.
If you want, are there any questions about the contributions, or do we dive into it?
Somebody's saying, please do small devlogs which will show us which script you attached to make the characters move, an enemy attack, and NPC interact with the character. Okay.
Yeah.
No, because I was thinking in my head, we do devlogs already, and actually that's one of the topics that in my head I have for like later devlogs. So as Chema mentioned before, we did one about the shading style, one about scriptable objects, one about input.
The input.
One is coming up about addressables.
Yes.
And topics that I'm considering are animation and probably, like a recap of how we create the character and how the character interacts with other with other entities. But for that case, I wanted to do it towards the end because it doesn't make sense to do one and then we change like completely the scripts and it doesn't match the game. So we're probably going to do it last, maybe in a month from now. But thanks for the suggestion, Kudakwashi. So, Chema, do you want to show us the status?
Let's talk about the status and where the game is at. So if you want to share my screen, awesome.
Yes.
As you can see, there is another mirror board. It will be added to the mirror board systems, I think. I'm not sure later on. But actually, if you want to know more about the tasks, we are going to discuss them with you, everyone. And we are going to add them to the codex, to the different to do the different decks. So what is the color code? So if it's green, that means that it's been done. What been done means, it doesn't mean that we are not going to work on that at all. It means that we finished working on it, or someone finished working on it and contributed, or that currently we are not planning on changing anything into it. So as you can see here, the shaders and the shader add-on are all finished. So if you want to know more about them, you can find them in the codex, in the roadmap. Now, let's go to the development. So in the development, we have the scene loading system. As Ciro said, we are still working on that one, even though we started it and we talked about it in different episodes. We have the phone system that's normally done. We have the event system that's using the scriptable objects, and that is done. We have the quest system that's currently being implemented in the game, because the quest system has been started and talked about in the other episodes. And currently we are going, I think, to add a task about this, Chiro, aren't we?
Yeah. Which task?
So I think we said we're going to add a task about the quest system, about how to detect that you are in a place, and actually because quests currently the steps are achieved when you interact with a character, and we said that maybe we should add more conditions to consider a quest done. So, like, for example, being in a place, or fighting number of critters or something like that.
So do you want me to share? How do I do this? So Chema topic. Okay, there we go. So I'm on the private version, let's say, on the authoring version of the roadmap. I have a couple of cards that I wanna reveal soon. But Chema, guide me. What should I write in this task?
Add. We should write that we should add more conditions to the quest system.
So conditions.
In summary, that's it.
Okay. Cool. That's one task. I will. What's the priority of this task? High, medium, or
it's
no rush?
high, I think, because we're going to integrate it soon.
Okay.
We also have the dialogue system. Oh, can you put back my screen?
Yeah, sure.
People in the chat, if you think about any kind of task that you think we should add to the codex, please tell us in the comments. So as I said, the dialogue system has been done. Maybe some things will change later on, but currently we're not actively working on that, and we're not asking anyone to work on it. It's just maybe some improvements so that it works with the cutscene system and the quest system. Talking about the cutscene system, we already have it. I think we worked on it. Ciro, do you have any more information about the cutscene system?
Yeah, we don't. I can use this one. We haven't touched it in a while, so it's one of those systems that was like a bit forgotten, because obviously we're working on like the base gameplay, and we haven't worked a lot on the narration, let's say. So we need to go back to it, and we basically need to, as you said, like we need to make sure that the cutscene can be started by a quest, for example. So if I speak with a character and I complete a quest, then it starts a cutscene. But that's not necessarily part of the cutscene itself, right? And the cutscenes plays, and then maybe we need something to give back control to the quest system, or just give back control of the character, for example. So we need to do that.
Yeah. We also have the AI navigation that Amel talked about earlier. We have the combat system. These three systems are still open and still being worked on, either by the community or by the team. We also have the interaction system that we completed, I think. It will only be modified if we have something else that we need from the quest system. We also have the state machine that is complete. And we have the audio system. I think Cherry said we have something that we need to add in the audio.
Yeah, for the audio, there's a feature that I wanted to create. Somebody created actually the implementation. I call it finish audio cue. Basically, the audio cues are sounds, sound blocks, and we have stop, which immediately stops an audio cue, but then there's finish, which lets the audio cue finish, and then it stops it. We're going to use that for instances, for example, of talking. So we play like several sounds of talking, but then when the dialogue finishes, instead of stopping the talking straight away, we let the sound finish, which is going to sound more natural. Rather than just like, cutting the dialogue straight away. So we need to add something for that. And I'm going to basically make almost a note for now. So we need to implement what I call audio cue finish into the dialogue system. So that's something that we need to do. We need to integrate it with the dialogue system, and I would say that's kind of like medium priority.
Since we are adding cards, what do you think, Amel, we should add for the AI navigation and the combat system?
Yeah, now for the AI navigation, we already have a PR that I showed that is open, so we are still reviewing this one once we are done with the pathway. So they are both like tied together, linked. So there is not much, I would say, expectations to open more PRs on that. But in case there is something that comes up, we will definitely announce that in the forum thread for the AI navigation part. In terms of combat, currently, as I said, we will just make the update on how the state machine is consuming the press of the button. So it's something that is already in discussion on one of the PRs that is open. Ciro adjusted, I think, already the effect for the slash. That looks cool. It's more like into the theme, I would say, of the game. So maybe we could have potentially some few changes in terms of visuals. But I would say we don't have much requested, I would say, now to like put in the codex.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, if we continue, we also have the inventory system that's been done and discussed in previous episodes. We have the input system. We talked about it in previous episodes, and we also have a devlog episode about this. We have the localization system that we talked about in previous episodes. It's been integrated, and I don't think that we are going or planning on changing anything about it. We have the settings that has never been worked on, so I think
We
I
actually
don't
have
even
a
know
PR.
if it's.
We have
We
a
have
PR, yeah.
an old
Oh,
PR
awesome!
that we need to
Awesome.
take
I'll
a look
check it.
at. Yeah.
Awesome.
Or maybe Bronson can
Um,
I can look at it. I don't mind.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
okay. He said.
Give me all the boring stuff that nobody wants to do.
I'm gonna
So
assign it
let's
to him
change this
right now.
to yellow. Yeah, it's yellow. Nice. Also, we have the save system that Bronson discussed today. We may need to improve it so that it works with the quest system. I don't know. We're still working on that. We also have the tutorial system. Chair, do we have any card that is open about this?
Not yet. No.
Okay.
Because we haven't really decided what the tutorial looks like, right? Like we discussed,
Yeah.
Chema, me and you, very briefly.
Yeah.
For me, I don't want to implement like a very hard, heavy-handed tutorial. You know that like stops you from moving and shows you some text and asks you to press a button. I don't wanna go that. I don't know what the chat. What does the chat thinks about tutorials? How should we implement a tutorial? And keep in mind, like this game is a simple game, right? Like our actions are like move, jump, fight, speak with character, and cook. That's the only complex thing, and then pick things up. But for picking things up and cooking, we have button prompts that appear when you approach interactable items. So I think we don't have a need for a very, again, heavy-handed tutorial, but something very simple. When you're like at the beginning of the game, you enter a specific area, and then it just shows like, you know, like press A to jump because maybe there's an obstacle, and that's it. You jump and you get out of the area, and the tutorial hides the text.
Exactly.
Someone asked, no eating?
No
well,
eating.
yeah, you can eat, but in the inventory system, so there's a button that says eat or consume or wear.
Yeah.
Or
There's
something.
button prompts for that, so I don't think we need a tutorial that goes like to eat. You know, open inventory, and open inventory, and then it goes like select the item. You select the item, and if you know, it's 290.
What if we did like a full physics simulation on the mouth? So you had to like open the mouth, put the food in your mouth, chew.
Which obviously people
That
will need
would
a
be a
tutorial
cool
for,
game.
right? Digestive tutorial.
Digestive tutorial.
Tutorial
Yeah,
for tutorial.
exactly. So yeah, we have the tutorial system and we have the UI integration that are not started yet. Have not.
You know
been
what?
started yet.
I'm gonna put a note for the tutorial, but it's gonna be very vague. How do I call it? Tutorial system. It's gonna be very vague. I'm gonna leave it here, and then I'm gonna sort it out and add more description to it. Actually, Chema, one thing I was forgetting.
Yeah.
We need one specific task, which is implement. Look at this. Fade in. Out for scene loading. And I'm gonna explain what I mean by this. Basically, the idea we have a scene fader, right? But we need to make sure that when you exit a location, rather than loading instantly the other location, it needs to like fade out and then load the location, right? So we do the loading over a black screen or maybe a loading screen rather than just like switching to the other side. So the fade is going to be very, very, very short, like half a second or 1 second, but I think it's a nice touch. But to do it, we need to wait for the fade to finish. Otherwise, the fade itself will like hitch as the scene is loading and unloading. So that's something that I wanted to propose, and somebody needs to make it, and I'm gonna put it into medium priority. But again, I need to write descriptions for this, and then I'll move them from the archive. I'll move them to code and shading and all the decks where you normally see tasks.
Yeah. So if you want to join us, just go to the codex and you can see if there is a task that you like or you want to try to do.
Which is linked in the YouTube video. Sorry, in the description of this video, as usual. Then you go to the forums, you discuss that, and you make a contribution.
Exactly. The next part that we're going to show is the art branch. So in the art we have the white boxing that is currently being done, and many of the community are participating to that. We also have the 3D models, so it's either the animation rigging, or even the creation of the 3D models. I think I should add this. The assets of the 3D models. It's all in progress currently. We also have the UI, so the wireframing is done. It's on the Miro board, but the assets are not ready yet. We also have the sound design that we are showing. That we are broadcasting. I don't know how to say it. Each time here in our episodes, and that you must be hearing currently while I'm talking. Okay, so
it's funny because you don't hear it, so you're guessing that they hear it.
Yeah, exactly. So the next part is the tools. Currently, we have the state machine, the scene manager, the prefab replacer, and I think that today Amel showed us a new tool. Amel, what is it called?
Yeah, it's called the search tool, I would say, for scriptable objects. So it's a way to find scriptable objects by type. So you only choose the type, let's say location, and then it gives you all the different instances of that scriptable objects that are of type location. And yeah, that's also one of the cool tools that we just added to the project.
Awesome. So let's mark this as green. I'm also thinking about adding a tool to create the quests, because it would be easier to create them with quests. And maybe this will allow us to show you the UI builder later on. I don't know. We will discuss it. Okay. So next we have the content. So in the content here, and I'm so happy that the community participated in this. It's been a blast to see all the comments, all the threads open, and to read everything that everyone proposed. So the content is actually what will make the game be a game. So the quests, it's the story, it's the naming, it's the dialogue, it's creating the cinematic. So thinking about how it will look like, and what is the how do you say it? I don't know, the board of it.
Yeah.
The
frame.
Sorry?
The frame, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
How it will be done, what is the cinematic, etc. So yeah, these are the things in the content that we need the community to participate to. The quests actually currently they're being integrated. I think that we have a final list of quests, but of course we are still discussing with the community about some tweaks to add, like for example, not using a golden egg, or using a golden egg, or having maybe I won't say that we will, but maybe having 3 different endings. How about this, Cheer?
Whoa. Big reveal.
No, this project is cancelled.
Yeah.
I'm like shutting down. I'm deleting like the GitHub
Yeah, it's like,
right now.
and then you get that, warning from GitHub when you try to remove the repository. It tells you this is like, you can't, go back.
No. You will get a warning when you try to push. It's like the repository doesn't exist anymore. No, 3 endings,
Yeah.
Chema, 3 endings for a vertical.
I'm discussing with
Do you want to add online multiplayer too? Just since you're there.
Hey, now we're talking.
Yeah, now we're talking. With Bronson, we will collaborate on this.
Yeah.
One of the people in the chat wrote Ciro equals no. It's true. I'm the no person on this project. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when someone else says no, Chiro always says, "Why not?"
No, that's not true. That's not true. No, I just echo the no. That's not true. Chema. Don't frame me like that.
So the content that we need people to participate to are the dialogue also, because we need dialogues for the quests. So now that the quests are almost set, we need dialogue for that. Also, people are still talking about the naming, and the cool thing is that when discussing on the quests, people started discussing on the backstories of each character, which was really nice. So if you want, just go to the quests and scenario thread, and you can find there everything that's related to the quest. Also, for the cinematic design that is not open yet, we need some I don't know how to say it, like sketchboards of the cinematic storyboards. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. So the storyboard. And as you can see, the story is green because we decided on the story since the start. The community wasn't very thrilled with the first story that we proposed, so we discussed with them and we created the new one, which is the festival, and participating to the festival to wow the Fry King. So these are everything, all the systems that we have in our game. And if you want to participate to any of that, you can find them in the forums or in the codex roadmap.
Has anyone proposed naming every character Chiro yet?
No, I would say no once again.
Unfortunately.
No. Cool. I've actually added the 2 storyboard tasks, so I'm gonna detail them later. And they're actually a bit creative because, for example, for the final cutscene, we know what the action is, but we don't know like the shots and where this action takes place, right? So it's gonna be fun to storyboard if you're into it. And storyboards can be very rough, so we're not expecting nice drawings. So please feel free to join, even if you don't have like some crazy drawing skills. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Cool. When will I be able to play Chop Chop in VR? Says Michel Varilek. Well.
You created.
When you created that, that's actually a good answer. The project is open source, right? So you can make it run in VR. That would be actually super cool, and it should run because it's in URP, so it should be pretty. And we're not doing any crazy stuff graphically, so it should run fine. Now I want to make a VR version.
Yeah. Now I know that we have done that in the next stream. Our colleague works with it.
Now, yes, man.
No.
Okay, cool. I think we're there. We're getting close to the end of the of episode 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have something else we want to talk about? No, we're there.
I think we're there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bronson, any final words?
Be excellent to each other.
That was not for us, for the community. You mean? I
We
wanted
can
to
stay the same
play
with each other.
once more the main theme. I think is cool. So we're gonna play it on the ending credits, like the ending card that we usually put at the end of the episode. So if you want to hear the main theme in its full glory once again, just stay tuned for another 4 minutes. For the rest, see you in 3 weeks, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We change
Or
the
in
schedule.
the forums.
Or on the forums, or
Yeah.
mostly on the
GitHub.
forums. See you in the code.
See you in the code.
All right. Any
Okay.
final question
See you,
in the
everyone.
chat? Any
If you have
final
questions,
questions?
even after, we will answer you
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
tomorrow.
We'll stay some time.
No, we will stay in the chat for another 4 minutes as we play the music. So,
Yeah.
is there a wiki page where links towards the Miro boards are provided? Yes, we have them here in the README. So on the I'll put them on the wiki as well. But on the how's it called, this thing? The
Codex.
roadmap.
Yeah.
Yes, the codex roadmap. If you go to the README, there's a card called Useful Links, and we have 2 links for now: Game Map and Game Systems. I'm gonna link more, like including the one that Chema showed tonight.
Are you sure, Chiro?
What do you mean?
I don't think we are going to show this.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, we didn't want to share that one.
This board. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's here just to show you where we are at currently, and
Yeah.
if you
We
want
don't want to
to
share it just
participate,
because
you
it would become quickly like out of date. So it was just a recap for the purpose of the stream. Thank you, Chema. Thank you for bringing me
No
back
worries.
to the right
here.
path, to the righteous path. But we're gonna show the other Miro boards that we have and consolidate. them.
Yeah, exactly. And as I said earlier, we have all the diagram for the systems in the same diagram. So if you want, you can go there and you can
Yes.
find all
Yeah.
the diagrams that are in there.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. All right, then I'll put up the music for the main theme, and we'll see you in 3 weeks.
So, yeah.
See you. Bye.
See you everyone. Bye.
Bye.